Well, Christmas plans are on hold for many Sydney-siders as the city gets a grip on the biggest coronavirus outbreak since the Ruby Princess debacle. Sydney's northern beaches have been declared a national coronavirus hotspot in the first use of the federal government's new guidelines for the term. To get his perspective, let's cross live now to 2GB radio host Luke Grant in Sydney. Hi Luke, thanks for joining me. You've been speaking with people in the city all day. What's the mood like over there?
Well, it's interesting. It depends where in the city you're speaking to people. There's been a fantastic effort by people of the northern beaches to actually turn up and get tested. I think that's the first thing, that they're accused all around the place, and they're just so keen to play the role that the government's asked them to play by going forward, even if they don't have symptoms, and make sure they get tested. What's happened late this afternoon, Cory, which is made things more than intriguing for everyone in Sydney, is now the extent to which there are venues affected. So we're first talking about a bowling club and an RSL in the northern beaches and one other venue. Now we're talking about places, for example, in Bondi Junction in Sydney's east and Cronulla in the south of Sydney. And there's now a significant list of venues that have been posted on the website where the government say if you've been, you've got to keep an eye on symptoms and ultimately get yourself tested. I spoke this afternoon to the restaurateur Luke Mangan. It's funny how people behave, because he's told me of a colleague of his in the food and catering business who has a number of venues. They had 1,000 people cancellations in the last 8 hours. So to come back to your original question, I know I've taken a long way round. There are people who are doing the right thing, getting tested, and have great confidence in New South Wales Health with, I think, very good reason. And there are others that hear the word COVID-19 and think, oh my God, we've got to cancel everything, lock ourselves up at home. We've already seen toilet paper, I'm told, run out in supermarkets in the Northern Beaches area. So I'd like to think we're a bit different, but from the callers we had today on the show, it's typical of what happens when, new cases are diagnosed.
Well, look, it's encouraging that people want to do the right thing. I hear the queues for coronavirus testing are up to 4 hours long.
Yeah.
But you have to feel for the businesses that have lost, the optimum trade, the restaurants that have been shut down, as you said, the 1,000 seats that have been cancelled already. But what about the other unknown, the high-risk people, the elderly, Luke, the many aged care homes on the northern beaches? They're now shut to visitors over what is perhaps one of the most sentimental and important family times, Christmas.
Yeah, you're so right. Wow, it couldn't be worse. I mean, just for a moment, look, I know much of Australia has been clear, and we probably all thought that we were through it. And at one point, I guess, a month or two back, you would be, would have been reasonable to imagine that Christmas might be, a lonely affair this year, particularly those in aged care facilities. And now along comes this. Of course, many of those centres now are closed to visitors, understandably. There was this morning, Cory, in some of the remarks from the Premier and the Health Minister, Brad Hazzard, there was perhaps the idea that, we just see this for 3 days. Our contact tracing, and they all say it is gold standard or diamond standard, and, we do get a bit of confidence out of hearing that, if nothing else. And perhaps we've got on this quickly, and as a result, it won't go much further. As someone who's working in Sydney, when I heard, and we had tips all through the show yesterday, that, oh, Luke, there's going to be another 8 cases or 11 cases. And we all said at the end of the show, no, it's got to be more than that, surely. When the number was 10 this morning, that was so much better than what we were either led to believe or, through ourselves and our experiences expected, that there was even though it was 10 cases, a slight sense of relief. So I don't think we're in panic mode yet. I don't think necessarily people, even in the northern beaches, are too perturbed. I think we have some history in getting through these outbreaks, so hopefully this will be another one. We had some cases, we dealt with it, and we moved on without, importantly, shutting the joint down.
Well, that is critically important. I mean, in South Australia, we had a rapid shutdown over 17 or so cases. It was scheduled for 6 days. It only lasted 3, but it had devastating consequences on hospitality businesses, people's confidence. Some people thought it was good to have a long weekend, but they don't look through the implications. And right now in Sydney, you've got a lot of people who travelled there from South Australia, from Victoria, from around the rest of the country, and their travel plans are in disarray for thousands of them, because Queensland, Victoria, Western Australia, Northern Territory, South Australia and Tasmania have all imposed new travel rules for the people in New South Wales. I mean, how is this going to affect confidence generally across the country when arbitrary closures come in like this?
You know, again, going back to Gladys Berejiklian, this morning she said, and she made a special comment for leaders elsewhere, that she understood, you know, the importance of making sure that a hotspot was controlled. But she said, you know, the reaction has to be proportional. Now, it is early on, and of course we did see someone fly to Brisbane without symptoms, subsequently tested, and hopefully the Queensland contact tracing, I've seen their release this afternoon, they're on top of things, so hopefully that's okay. I don't know if we can, Cory, but I reckon you'd agree with me. We've got to get to a point, and I said this earlier, and I think this is perhaps a little over the top, where, there's 4 cases today, followed by, so what? Now, it's not so what. People get sick and people die. But if there's 4 or 5 or 10 cases, if we accept we're living in a pandemic and the outcome is potentially very serious, then what do we expect when we've got people coming from all around the world? We've got to find a way of dealing with it. And if we go a month without a case, we don't all of a sudden drop the ball and think, all right, no mask, no distancing, it's a free-for-all. It's not. And you know, we all know, only too well, it can be on a hard surface or from someone. I mean, it appears we've got aircrew coming from South America that, from our information, have gone out for a coffee where they should have been quarantining. Now, you know, we've learned from that. So from Tuesday in New South Wales, they'll go to not one of 24, but one of 2 hotels, and there'll be police and army there. So hopefully that won't happen again. But I just hope that the rest of Australia, New South Wales has been open with the exception of the Victorian border, I think the whole time. And I just hope leaders elsewhere, because it is Christmas, just are measured. This is Sydney's northern beaches, a couple of other areas. Give us a day or two, and let's see if we can get through this without ruining Christmas and shutting down economies.
I think many people would agree with you, Luke. And right now, the quarantine failures are causing the problems, and so we need to get on top of those. I've got to go, but Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for joining me tonight. I really appreciate your insights.
You're doing a great job, mate. Merry Christmas.